Yeah, I don't think there are any like great competitors, right? I'm always like kind of looking for them.
Oh yeah.
And there aren't really any. Like I don't know if you've seen Subsocial.
No.
It's a polkadot project, but we can get into that.
Yeah.
So what's new with you on the big picture? It's been many moons. It's been many rotations of the sun. What's up?
I have this vision of like, okay, imagine like an empty VR space, and like you said, like say you and I are in that space and we're both orbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say our orbs are, maybe they're like little toruses, like little donut shapes, like a sphere, and they're radiating mostly with the vibrations of the audio from our voices.
Ooh.
And those vibrations are like literally like working with one another in 3D space, like fluid dynamics.
Dude.
And then on top of that, if you and I join in on like maybe a certain type of engagement, I don't even know what it would be yet, but then like little connection grows, like a little tentacle, and then we're creating this like mycelial root structure that's also like interacting with the cymatics of the sound vibration.
Dude, there's been like all sorts of crazy stuff, like personal stuff, but on like the Imaginarium front, it's never been better in the sense that like I'm kind of living in that future a little bit where like my creative endeavors have accumulated enough to where I kind of doubled down and invested it a little bit, and now I'm seeing kind of like this return where basically this whole year I haven't spent any money for my weed. It's all become for my creative endeavors, and I'm expanding that just like personally, you know. And so I've been excited about that, and then like I've talked to Douglas Rushkoff.
And what Bowie was doing was much more like what, Genesis P-Orridge talks about, that you've got to, once you recognize yourself, you got to kill yourself to then move, you got to change your name and move on and move to the next one, and get reborn, keep getting reborn.
Mark Pesci.
So tell you a little story. So I got to be quite good friends with Terence McKenna before he passed, and he invited me to come down and spend 10 days with him. This is right before Christmas time in 1998, and he used to live sort of on the lower Big Island down south of Kailua, and I had some friends who were visiting at the same time, and on the winter solstice we decided we're going to go up to the volcano, and we went up to the volcano. And we walked across one of the craters, and then we went down the chain of craters road to the place where there's this constant lava flow into the sea. And I remember walking on it, and I remember grabbing some of it. And a couple days later, I had taken some ayahuasca. Imagine that, when I was visiting Terence. And I'm having a classic ayahuasca experience, but I'm also now looking at this piece of rock that I've taken from the volcano. Do you know what volcanoes spit out? They spit out silicon. Well, they spit out silica, but they spit out fairly pure silicon. And all my life, I've known exactly what silicon is good for. It is the substrata of computation. And I looked at this and went, wait a second, the Earth is already a computer.
Working on fucking creating a DAO and like hanging out in some other projects and talking about what we could do with decentralized organizations. And you know me, I've always been on like the cultural front of it. And devising like a plan to where I have a rollout with NFTs. And first I want to like personally develop like using NFTs to like represent like part of the community, but also to like have more meaning and value other than, how much you spent ETH on it,
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think all the time about, it was like 2015, 2016, and you were talking Ethereum, and sometimes you just like, you have just willful stubbornness. Sometimes you just like, you have just willful stubbornness, like I'm pretty tech savvy, but I was like, oh, Ethereum, the other crypto, and like I never took the dive. And now that's what I do. I'm getting pretty heavy into Solidity development.
Sweet.
And because of crypto, I don't have a day job, I'm really interested in what you're doing with your DAO. Like what you guys are talking about, or how it's going to be formulated and all of that, because that's what I do. I don't get on mines that often because I post and there's not much that happens, but I can see that, like, as far as my feed goes, because I'm not following many people, it looks like you rake in all the points.
This is funny because I'll tell you the inside baseball of that. Like, so I've been so consistent on this because, like, I don't care if anybody, like, watches my shit. Like, I do it for myself. So, like, I'll be doing it if I got tokens or not. But, like, I have been so, like, consistent on that. And I remember, too, when we find, like, okay, I was in fucking Florida living with a girl and she had 4 kids. And that was a whole other story. But anyways, I saw a commercial for PayPal. And I haven't, like, at this time, I haven't posted on mine for, like, 6 months. I forgot why I got pissed or whatever. But, I'm still creative. I'm still doing my shit. And then I see a commercial on PayPal that you could buy a Bitcoin and Ethereum on it. And I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? The whole world's turned upside down. And I go, I need to talk to Bill. So I message Bill and then we do a fucking show. And then after I talked to Bill, I'm like, holy shit, this is why years ago thought, oh, let's see if I could earn a whole Ethereum coin. And so, okay, this is why I store this away. Now time to dust it off. Time to use it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready for when we go on Uniswap. Okay, this is where it's at. And, like, no one, like, was, like, paying attention. And so there was, like, a brief window and moment, And that
where you just picked up a bunch of Mines tokens as soon as it went on Uniswap?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then from there, it's what I've been telling on the show and telling people. And, I was telling people, okay, Mines is going to be on Uniswap. It's all about the liquidity. Put your stuff in the liquidity pool. Put your stuff in the liquidity pool. And then sure enough, the rewards only really matter if you put liquidity in the liquidity pool. To play the content game is fucking even worse. Like, before they tweaked the thing, like, people, I know how to use Mines. I know and then so once I start seeing, like, people start gaming it just like way back in the day when we're talking about the point system, same shit. And then so I start, like, activating my alt accounts. Like, dude, I've been here forever. Like, let's play this game. And then so, like, I was just trying to, like, even out the score because I just saw it fucking up. And then that's when Bill, like, I knew that was going to happen. But what happens is that, like, people are either, spamming or, the same bullshit from, like, before. And no one is thinking about, like, how do we do something unique. And I've always been on that. So, like, on the content side, I am fucking ready. But, like, I spent, like, a year or so, like, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, fucking around on, like, Hive and all that shit. And I didn't care either on there. But, like, I was at this. You remember Sex, Death, and Rebirth? She was on there.
No, I don't.
Okay, she was on mine and she was on there and she was, like, posting like crazy. And I just, like, oh, I need to, like, compete with her. So, like, I ended up, like, creating this whole, like collage. Like, I just, like, got obsessed with, like, doing these collages and collages and collages. This is all to say that, like, I'm like Andy Warhol now. Like, I could do unique shit and I could do it fast, like boom, and like pump it up, but, like, it's good. And then you build the story and the meaning after that. Like, people don't understand. Mines can be the watering hole for the Web 3D world. People don't understand. Mines can be the watering hole for the Web 3D world. Where everybody's stuck in the Web 2. We need to go to the Web 3 world. And you only interact very so often when you interact with DAOs and when you interact with the real blockchain on these like scattered little places that are not populated. But mines can be the watering hole for that. Like, we should have these smaller YouTube channels on mines and putting liquidity in there. You know,
well, everyone's like everyone's moving to like Theta as far as like YouTube. Everyone's on like Theta and what's the other one? Like Library. I remember I played around with.
Yeah, I played with Library.
I don't know that it's the thing though. Yeah.
Everybody from mines started posting videos on there, and then like, you know, it never really caught on. Like a lot of the public people from like Open Mic Night, and you know, I try all sorts of different stuff. Like you know, every once in a while we stream some of the shows on like D Live or whatever. It's on the Binance one. We have some other. I've always like played around with different stuff, and even that doesn't matter. But like, at least in the sense that like, the Minds Plus is kind of fucked up right now. But we need.
That's the only thing. As you're saying this should be the watering hole for Web3, because that's all I look for, right? Like I know about Minds, and I've been here for a long time, and I'm always just looking for the niche to be filled properly. And the Minds Plus and the people trying to mess with the system definitely fucks it up, and it has always fucked it up.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in New Mexico, and Lee and I found some exploit, and we had like trillions of points, and we're just sending them around, and like told Bill to delete all our points and all this shit because we just like went nuts with it.
Yeah.
But I think right, I like that, you know, we have the off-chain tokens in the wallet here, and that's kind of nice to look at. You know, it is showing that, you know, I'm not really doing anything, but I'm getting a couple bucks in a day. If I want to turn around and do anything with them on ETH, if I want to put them in a liquidity pool, if I want to trade them, if I want to do anything, it's going to cost me like $20, $40 or something. That is, you know, because of the congestion.
Yeah.
I think the next step, you know, obviously I haven't started talking to Bill or anyone yet because I've barely just been poking my head into the room. But we gotta move to like a layer 2.
Yeah.
Or something, because that's the big move right now is the interoperability. Like my big play is polkadot.
The other side is the developer toolchain.
I was always interested in continuing to build, to create. So I built the company that I want to work in. A company that's focused on helping the world get the best out of blockchain.
Many people here believe that this new wave of technologies can actually help, like bringing a technological backstop to the power accumulation that we're seeing in services like Facebook and Google. And now for the first time, we can use tech to actually address social problems in a much more fundamental way. Like not just applying math to do statistics, but like applying math to help that we don't have to put so much trust in services online.
I don't know if you've looked at what's happening there with Kusama.
I read just a few stuff, but I haven't played around with anything.
It's fractions of a penny per transaction. Mm-hmm. You know, you can list NFTs, bid on them. You can. Yeah. That's why I sent you that social network, is because I can submit posts that cost a fraction of a penny. Mm-hmm. You know, and I can comment and like things for a fraction of a penny. So there's the economic like incentive to not fuck around. Like it's the idea of being a validator and getting slashed, right? If you're spending pennies to interact on the network, to earn more pennies, and then you do something bad and you get slashed. Well, that sucks. You're probably not going to try and game the system anymore. So I think moving towards some kind of thing like that would be cool, especially when it's like cross chain and other networks and stuff. But
for sure, because so when they fucking did that shit with and I forgot, I was gone when that happened, and I come back and like Minds Gaming's all pissed. Okay, so just this year, I forgot, my old friend like came back to Minds, and this is like when the token barely was like 25 cents or something, but like everybody's like, okay, this might be something, right? Might be worth something. And then because he was talking about like streaming video games, and then I was like, oh, Minds Gaming does that, like I'll hook you up with them, and he's like, okay. But like he flaked, and so like I did it, and then so all of a sudden I was like, hey, I'll co-host the show with you, and then so like we've been doing that. I mean, we were frequent for like 4 months, and then like it got repetitive, and then like like it plateaued, and then like it's hard to get like the motivation, like create, like being looking forward to doing it again,
Yeah, 10 million, that's awesome, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah, we're not fucking around.
Yeah, 10 million, that's awesome, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah, we're not fucking around.
And it kind of like went through, but that's all to say that during this time, Minds Gaming was like, oh, fuck this, about the point system, and he's fucking around with Mint Me, and then he actually did that so much that he launched his token on Ethereum. So like he has that, and then he wants to launch another token within, like there's a few of us that have this, and then he wants to do it on some other chain. But that's all to say that like there's already a group that's like still the Minds Underground, that we're all ready.
We are gonna get the grant program ripping, and I think that's just so important. I just want it. I want to be able to, have all you guys, get big proposals through and just be, fully incentivized to create however you want to create.
Now I need to add the bass.
That have this, and then he wants to do it on some other chains. But that's all to say that like there's already a group that's like still the Minds Underground, that we're all ready to attack everywhere. But that's what I mean. Like, have you read The Starfish and the Spider? The Power of Chaos. As you read this, parents worldwide are beseeching their kids to clean the rooms. How can you get anything done in this mess? They ask. Similarly, the conventional thinking is to run an organization, you better be organized and structured. But in a decentralized world, messy kids can rejoice. It pays to be chaotic. In seemingly chaotic systems, users are free to do whatever they want. Want to download a song? Sure, why not? Want to create a piece of software? Go for it. Want to write an article for Wikipedia? Be our guest. Want to create a website featuring your cat? Go right ahead. Want to drive a 20-foot giraffe car? Great. Starfish systems are wonderful incubators for creative, destructive, innovative, and crazy ideas. Anything goes. Good ideas will attract more people, and in a circle, they'll execute the plan. Institute order and rigor structure, and while you may achieve standardization, you'll squash out creativity. Where creativity is valuable, learning to accept chaos is a must. If not, read it.
Starfish and the Spider, no. I'll look it up right now.
Yeah. So it's about like essentially decentralized organizations versus centralized organizations. So the starfish, he cut off the leg and like you can grow a whole other starfish. Anyways, it has a cool history and it kind of goes all the way back. That is to say that like even though we don't use Minds, we still like I still keep in contact with like people, and that we do stuff, and like this is the whole point. Like I want to create this like web series. Just it's the Minds Underground, and it's exactly that. Just people creating and either fully immersed or are wanting more of the Web3 world. You know, before we talked about it, now it's like, how do we use it and maximize it for each use case, and you know.
Yeah, that's exactly up my alley right now. Like that's so weird how it just kind of it was kind of obvious, you know, but I wasn't ever too much into it. Like I listened to you talk about like you know, Filecoin and IPFS and stuff a little bit back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
But now that's stuff that I use every day.
Cool.
Like I'm looking at Mint Meme because I haven't seen exactly this. There's some services like this, but
yeah. I mean, I actually don't really use Mint Meme that much. Minds Gaming and all of them use it because I just don't. I mean, it's alright, but I don't. I looked into Rally, and I like that a little bit better because I think the like the network effect and the ecosystem that Ethereum has already, at least for the next 5, almost 10 years, like it's the ecosystem which all other pools will come from. You know, when we're talking about like ecosystems, to have an ecosystem, you need water in a pool, and I think Ethereum is going to build the biggest body of water for the open source Web3D, and then that comes down and we build bridges and rivers and oases and, you know, whatever else we want to build.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at Rally right now with because I've heard of Wax before.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard of this. No one was talking about this.
Yeah. They're already doing a little bit of what I'm talking about, like incentivizing people doing articles, and you know what I mean? And you get a little bit of their coin or whatever. Early experiments in that. And there's
and I'm trying to see, like, so whenever you try and do stuff like that, people want it to all be on chain, right? So I'm trying to see, like, because Mint Me looks like you just create a coin, right? Like it's just a blank, basic like ERC20 contract with no functionality, most likely.
Yeah.
And then, you know, how do you distribute the tokens? You know, creating a smart contract, setting that up to like a React interface on a website and that kind of thing. Like, I would be interested in like being a part of trying to put something like that together, like Minds Underground or whatever the hell it is, or however we go about doing that. Just got to get off of Ethereum, because those transaction fees are gonna be ridiculous for like a couple of years probably. Like it's not gonna get that much better that much soon.
It's what, at least a year out.
There's like bridges onto Binance Smart Chain.
But it's all about the second layers right now. The Mine's, I don't know why they're not using the what are they using? Stark or something like that, or Snark, or I don't know. And that's one thing I think I brought it up with Jack, was like, or did I? I don't know. I talked to Jack recently and everything's all messed up because like I had to go on a bunch of different trips and like my uncle died and all this kind of personal stuff happening. But anyways, it's like I don't know why they, I guess, you know, Bill, sometimes they should have focused in on just making the mind, what they call it, Minds Pay, like way better. Like that should be like already smooth and seamless, where you could you know, like it's still cumbersome to use Minds, you know what I mean? But I'm talking just about like the whole interface of their dashboard and using the tokens, getting them off chain and on chain and sending them and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not like it's an easy feat, you know? Like
I'm
not trying to go on a call with Bill and everyone and be like, Why are you guys
just
a
little tender and care to it, right?
Just fucking do it. Yeah, no, like this is a difficult thing to do, right? Like some of these projects that are successfully deploying this shit get funded for millions of dollars before they even go for it.
But mine's recently got $10 million, so I see it because now they have like a proper support page, and it's still a little cumbersome, but I think they're trying to get staffed up, so fucking...
I need to actually do a deep dive into what the code base looks like, or what we're actually doing, or what contracts we have deployed on ETH, because everything's trying to be EVM compatible, right? So you can just go deploy the contracts somewhere else, and then still work it on something that's like very, very low congestion, and use somebody else's pre-made bridge, because everything's a building block.
Yeah, it's Legos.
Everything's DeFi Legos. I just sent you a link. This is Moonbeam. It just deployed on the Kusama ecosystem. Cool. So it's EVM on Polkadot. It's the first one that's live. So like, I don't know if you know SushiSwap. SushiSwap is like just a fork of Uniswap, except without the VCs and shit. They're deploying the whole thing on Moonbeam. Okay. And then you're gonna have a bridge from Polkadot to Moonbeam to Ethereum through Sushi. Because pretty much like Gavin Wood was the CTO for Ethereum. He helped write the Solidity programming language, and then he was like, "Oh, this isn't gonna scale. We have to start from scratch." And then he just kind of dipped and did his own thing. And it's a masterpiece, and it's just coming live. My move has been like locking up tokens in those crowd loans. It's been a really good play.
Cool. Yeah, man. What I been focusing on my end is what I've been telling, and why I haven't been playing with MintMe is like, okay, now why do we have these tokens? And what do we do with them? How can we use them? And so basically, I'm thinking, well, I have different phrases for this, but like the Mines Underground will be, like I'm first developing the Cosmic Trigger as like a web series. So, moving out of like podcasts to like web series, then doing the Mines Underground, which is like, think Anthony Bourdain, but for the creative Web3 world. And not only that, because like we'll go and visit people, like I go and visit you or whatever, but it's all about using this ecosystem to like create things. So like if I go to Curry Hobo and we do like an NFT rollout, but we also he wants to do a food truck. This is low hanging fruit. I have skills in cooking, and I could help write his menu, and this could be a whole thing, and then set up like a liquidity pool and set up all this kind of stuff, so that not only is the show creative, but on the back end it's tied in Lego block it into the ecosystem, and we go around just doing that in whatever form it comes out in. Basically.
Yeah, you've got me thinking. Functionality for a token like that. What it does. What brings the value to it, other than, if it's just you're a member of a private club or something. Why not just make it an NFT?
Yeah. No, well, okay. What I'm thinking is there's two parts. You represent skills of membership of like ecosystems with NFTs. So there's like a reputation with NFTs. And then, but on the back end, there is liquidity pools that fund projects, like paying people for their time.
Yeah, that's kind of the model that we're seeing is like, a DAO, and through whatever mechanism that it is profiting through, typically trading fees or, royalties off of NFT sales are going to the treasury. And then, the treasury is, purchasing the food truck or whatever the hell it is, where it's a food truck owned by a crypto DAO.
Yeah.
And then it's also cycling its own funds.
Yeah.
That's kind of thing with Sora Network. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah.
So they're trying to create like a Web3 new economic order. It's a one world, one economy thing where basically the tokens that come into circulation, you like vote on proposals.
Okay.
So in the testing of it, when I was playing around with it originally, it was like different companies that are like, this is my idea, this is my proposal, and then you vote, and whichever project gets voted on receives those newly minted tokens.
Yeah.
So the inflation of the supply is going out to like new products, and then those products become a reality, and then if you voted on something successful, then you get like returns from that thing being successful.
Yeah,
and that's kind of cool.
Vital was talking about that in the similar concept of it's kind of like a reverse like grant system of like whatever becomes valuable later, and then like
there's so many like products that need funding.
Yeah.
And if you vote wrong, collectively as a network, you can vote wrong, and it just like shits the bed, and then you don't profit from it. So then you're incentivized to like maybe not screw it up next time and vote for something that'll actually work. But all of this stuff is about to come to the forefront.
Yes.
And we have too many opportunities to be involved. We just have to figure out the best ways to do it.
Hell yeah.
Best ways to monetize.
I know. That's the interesting thing is not only do we need the technical side, which is rapidly happening, but then it's also like, oh, this is what we've been talking about, but like now it's like for reals, and like we don't have any cultural like reference to actually use it in a proper way.
Well, yeah, it's all kind of being swooped up by finance.
Yeah.
There's kind of a lot like culturally going on with NFTs or something.
Yeah.
There's community building behind them, and they're cool little clubs. And did you see what happened with Loot? That's kind of like new shit that went down. But
what happened?
Basically, it was an NFT drop.
Okay.
That was just a text file.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a bunch of text files that all have like just
like a fantasy,
like game gear, fantasy gear.
Yeah.
And it's a building block, because now, you bought a bunch of text files, then you can take those text files other places, and other communities, other apps will use those text files to do something cool, whether it be like a roguelike game or something where you go fight some stuff with your little person that has that gear. But then someone also created a currency airdrop that went out to all the loot holders that was worth like 80 grand for a second. That's crazy, but like there's cool little community things, but it's all still like money focused for sure.
Yeah. And you need that, but like I think it's better to reverse that. Like the money's more on the background end, and in a sense rewarding and also incentivizing people for going for what they actually want to do. Whatever that is that you want to do. If it's like you want to create a short movie, or you want to like create a video game, or you want to have a food truck, or you want to create a cultural center, or you want to do a commons for like literacy in your local community because you don't have a good library or whatever, or you want to like teach coding to kids, or and make sure they know about like I want to develop open source educational tools for kids. Like Curry is I think he already did. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he wanted to do a kids book teaching them about like open source.
I think it kind of has to happen with finance first. Maybe it doesn't have to, but everything is so expensive, right? The tech is so clunky right now.
Oh yeah.
That like it has to have financial incentive for anyone to really be using it on a large scale.
Yeah.
And then I think, like what I was saying, once we get into those, like, you're not even spending a penny to do the thing, so why not? I think then we're gonna be able to do all kinds of stuff, like.
And then we'll be ready.
Vitalik originally wanted to, one of his reasons he founded Ethereum was because his WoW account got banned, and he's like mad that like, those items, those things, my time was, worth something to me, and you were able to just take it from me, and so a lot of it is like ownership.
Isn't that what I told you? Oh, time's the luxury. It's the only asset that we can't get back.
The journey begins.
Those items, those things, my time was, worth something to me, and you were able to just take it from me.
Yeah.
And you were able to just take it from me.
Yeah.
And you were able to just take it from me. And so a lot of it is like ownership.
Isn't that what I told you? Oh, time's the luxury. It's the only asset that we can't get back.
And so a lot of it is like ownership.
Isn't that what I told you? Oh, time's the luxury. It's the only asset that we can't get back.
Yeah, so you took, I exchanged my time for all of those, things in that game, and you took it from me. So I think we're going to see stuff like gaming, we're going to see stuff like music royalties, people are going to put books on the blockchain, but like, just for the food truck example, just trying to abstract it to anything, like you could have a set of food trucks all over the country, and
especially
100 NFTs.
Yeah.
And if you own one of these NFTs, you get free food once a day at the food truck or something.
Yeah.
And like somehow a market's created for them, and people are trying to buy them for more and more or sell them.
And see, like the buying of the NFT will help set up, at least within the food truck network. We're like rolling up their fees or whatever, so that we can convert it the easiest and best timing, so that they get the maximum of it in whatever their currency of choice, so that they can use it to run their day-to-day operations.
Yeah, I mean, most major governments are developing central bank digital currencies right now. Like they know the jig's up, and they gotta get on board, or
they've been kicking and screaming, and now they just woke up like, oh shit, now we gotta get it.
Yeah, it's gonna roll out pretty quick here. I don't know. It's gonna be strange for a lot of people, and I think that some sort of a large event has to happen. Some sort of a big black swan event where it's like, oh no, help us, and then we're gonna get some sort of a UBI through some sort of because of the stimulus checks. I was following that really closely because we were talking about doing some sort of a digital payment, and then instead it became cards. But they were really looking at like, can we just deploy this digitally overnight in a day, just get money in people's hands, and like and that could have been an opportunity to just like flip it on its head, but the tech's not ready.
Yeah, it's not there yet, but it needs. It's already getting the infusion of money, and I think just a little bit of time. But I think almost culturally, we're kind of like getting there. We're having like spasms every now and then.
I mean, China's got it down pretty well. They're already walking up to places and scanning QR codes with their phones, and then paying in a central bank digital currency without even knowing they're interacting with a blockchain. And as we abstract from that, when you're going around and you're not knowing that you're using a blockchain, that's when it's going to take off.
Oh, yeah.
Like Facebook is trying to develop their metaverse.
I know, fuck them.
Which is... it's going to be real scary, but like they're not going to be the only metaverse. There's going to be a huge development
Well,
for that where you can already go play like Decentraland.
I only feel bad for people that don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, because by the time they do, it's going to be so abstracted that they don't.
They're gonna be locked. Really they're gonna be locked into fucking a gated community for their whole entire life.
Well, yeah, that's already just happening with the internet.
I know,
right? You're stuck on Facebook with your Google, maybe your Twitter and your YouTube, where it's all heavily thought policed. Facebook was really trying to just deploy their own global currency there for a second. Yeah. It got shut down.
They were trying to sneak it in with no one looking.
Yeah, they really were like,
whoa, wait, hold the brakes. What's going on?
They're like, oh, it's just a game token, for our platform.
Fucking assholes.
But soon it's gonna be, play on the metaverse with your, crypto tokens and look at our ads and buy our NFTs, but you're not going to know they're NFTs. You're not going to know you're using cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I mean, everybody younger than us is already digitally doing everything, like their skins and their games. Once the back end layer gets smoother of the open Web3, then we just need to onboard everybody, and then they'll realize by experiencing it that other place is the devil.
Well, and I think you're right, when the Fortnite kids
the Fortnite
got their
kids,
parents to spend $15,000 on skins, and then they're playing the next game, and Fortnite starts to drift out of existence, they're going to be like,
oh my god, I wasted my life. I wasted my life. What have I become?
Well, they're going to be like, why can't I sell these now?
Yeah.
Or why can't I keep it and take it to the next game? Because that's what's happening with, loot is the best example of that.
Yeah.
Where
that's the beginning.
I have my loot. It can be used in this game. It can be used in that game.
And in that
I can take it and sell it.
It's like they're teaching people what's the utilitarian value of being able to do it interoperable.
Yeah, I think a lot of crazy stuff is on the horizon, but I'm trying to keep up, and I've been lucky enough that this is just pretty much blockchain research has been my day job, so it's also very profitable. And then I had a whole ass child.
Yeah, so how old is your kid now?
He just turned 2.
Oh, okay, cool.
Me and my lady also just broke up, so single dad stuff is really really weird, but I'm trying to get on top of it.
Yeah.
Life is a bit crazy, but I'm trying to get, back into mines, but it is I'm kind of yelling into an empty hallway sometimes.
Oh yeah.
There's not really shit going on. I have more stuff going on Twitter, but I'm mostly just lurking to get information.
That's why I've always kept the candle burning in Imaginarium, because more so than whatever it does on mines, it's the concept that matters, So
yeah, and it's something that was preached in early mines, and kind of in this new. I don't know if you've seen the Project Blue Sky for Twitter. They're trying to make a decentralized social media platform, but this same idea of taking your skins or your loot or whatever and taking it somewhere else. Cross-chain identities or cross-platform identities are the next thing on the horizon.
Yep.
When you're gonna have your account on Mines, and maybe Mines isn't the hallway to shout into.
What I've been telling people too is and more so too as a developer, but thinking about it culturally too, your wallet is gonna be the new resume. That's how you're gonna show what you could do.
Well, because so their DIDs is decentralized identity.
Yeah.
The one that is actually going to be the first great experiment. Let me pull it up. Is Kilt. I don't know if you've seen Kilt. It's a beautiful platform. The idea is that your identity is not just your identity. Your identity is a bunch of pieces of distributed information where different authorities have vouched certain things about you.
Yeah.
And that idea has changed the whole way I think about identities, because you have your birth certificate, and that's how you prove your name and stuff. and that's an authority from the government. And so you bring your birth certificate to the DMV to get your driver's license, and they're like, "Oh, I know that this is you because I trust the government."
Yeah.
And it's this big web, this chain of all of these different pieces that all reference each other based on different trusted things, and all of these different entities are attesting to different data, and that's how you prove you're you. And then we're going to bring that on chain, where someone in the real world that I can go, to the DMV or whatever, and I can be like, "Hey, this is my wallet," and then they'll go on chain and say, "Hey, I confirm that that's that person."
Yeah.
And then it connects to your real identity, and then it starts getting a little scary, because that's when you get your social credit scores and but for finance, that's how you get uncollateralized lending on the blockchain and stuff, like you would with a regular bank, where I can do stuff with deeds to properties as NFTs and all of that nonsense. Identities are the missing link there. But then it's going to be use your wallet to log in here, use it to log in there, use it to everything. And then it becomes some global identifier. So I don't know. There's a lot that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's so many. I've done so much learning.
Have you seen that Black Mirror where they do the social score, where they every interaction you rate them?
Oh no, I haven't. But that's basically
it fucking turns your mind inside out. You're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be real bad.
Like that's what China's doing.
I know.
Based on who you're interacting with or things you've said online, and it's gonna be really easy to do that without it being quote the government.
Yeah.
Right, when you're just like, it's open, it's out there on the chain. Anyone can see it, so we're going to use that data to judge you. Because these are all things that I'm so passionate about, but it's also the fears of my entire life in a culmination. It's really strange.
That's that. At least my fear is more for the older generation and other people that don't realize what's going on, but not for myself. At least in this form I could navigate, and I'll be all right. Because that's the thing, is you're either gonna be in a starfish world of an ecosystem, or you're gonna be in a spider world where each web is pulled by a single entity.
Yeah, it's hard for me to tell exactly which direction it's going to go in, because the power of force is still there.
That's true.
I was thinking about this, is that the power of force is still there, that the government can just say, no more stable coins, and try and shut it down and make things illegal, but it'll kind of just be people trying to circumvent it.
Yeah.
And it'll be this kind of fight, but it's always been a fight. So I don't know where it's gonna go, but I know that they're investigating Uniswap right now.
I know.
But you can't shut it down.
You can't shut it down.
But there are synthetic assets, so synthetic stocks, synthetic commodities, that were trading on Uniswap for a minute, and the front end of Uniswap actually delisted them. And there was a huge uproar about it, because it's a decentralized protocol, this, that, and the other thing. But they only did it on the front end, because the front end is the only thing that they, as an organization, have full centralization over. So you can still technically use Ethereum contracts and interact.
Yeah, you got to do it directly. They'll make it easy for you.
But yeah, they don't make it easy, so it's gonna kind of be that thing where
that's how the black market. That's how the black market always worked, right?
True that. Yeah. But they shut down Tor. They shut down all the good.
I know.
Good black markets there anyway.
But the concepts still survive, and that's what basically the starfish and the spider is about. And then I like that he goes back to even in the physical world. The one example that he used that was pretty good was with the Apaches and the Spaniards. So, you know, the Aztecs, the Mayans, they all fell to the Spaniards. And there's a lot of, you know, factors. There's a lot of factors into why, you know, the Aztecs and the Mayans fell to the Spaniards. But one aspect to the Apache, why they resisted and fighted so long, and that they didn't get conquered by the Spaniards, and later, you know, they surrendered to the Americans. But because like there was no centralized person, there was local advisors and shamans. But just because you destroyed one little tribe, it didn't matter. Like other tribes weren't taking orders from like Geronimo. Like Geronimo just fought and everybody kind of followed him, but other made their own decisions, you know, in the sense too, there was like the Americans fighting, you know, the Taliban and Al Qaeda and stuff like that. It's not a directly centralized group that's taking orders from one person. It's just like an idea, then everybody makes up their own way to execute it in their own region.
So I just purchased the book, the Starfish and the Spider. But now you make me want to understand the organizational structure and decentralization of the Taliban.
Yeah.
You know, like, that'd be so interesting to figure out, like, oh, they're very successul because of some specific structure they have that we should aspire to in some way.
Well, at least understand it better. You know, the other example that he does is okay. There's that movie. What's it called? Gun Ho, and it's with Michael Keaton, and it's like in the 80s, and it's about like Ford having some of the Toyota guys over, and it's like this kind of like funny movie that it's about, oh, the Japanese people need to know how to have fun, and the Americans need to know how to be serious in the factory. But real story was that back in the day, Ford and American Motors was the shit, and like it was the market. And this up-and-coming Japanese motor company came, and then they finally kind of did better, you know, like in the 60s, 70s, and they wanted to know why, so some of the CEOs were going back and forth. And according to this guy, part of it was that they listened to people on the line. They had a suggestion box, and they actually took them seriously. And so when they found out majority of the suggestions were practical and common sense and were easy to implement, they gave them some autonomy to just execute it. And this is why they outperform the Americans. Not because the Japanese needed to know how to have fun, and not because the Americans needed to be a little serious. No, because that people that interact with the line day to day know how to make it more efficient better than someone on the top that abstractly doesn't know what's going on day to day.
And I think the lesson that I take from that I see growing is in a DAO where the user experience is very friendly. Because that's the thing that hasn't happened too much. Is it's kind of been difficult and very technical to go vote or access or submit a proposal or do anything to interact or participate, or unless you're an influencer and you're like, you should do this, and maybe it happens. But as we're getting to better user experience, where over the last 6 months to a year, like, I have never participated in governance in platforms of any kind as much as I have, because it's getting easier for regular people to get involved and do things where you can just go submit a proposal. It doesn't even have to be, a big piece of code, right? You're not like, it's not like a pull request. You're submitting a proposal. They're quite simple. A bunch of people get behind it, and then it gets worked on because it's backed with, tokens or whatever to support it. And then those tokens can either just be a vote, or it can be some sort of a funding allocation from a treasury, and then those things actually happen and those things are successful. So I think that is a really good story, a really good lesson, because that worked then, and now we're starting to see that it can work now in like a decentralized fashion.
Yeah, in a lot more streamlined fashion, and like that principle of letting, like, empowering people to make decisions locally, like, you know, like directly and more peer to peer. And I think we just need to like keep on doubling down on what is like successful. So say you scatter these projects and they get minor funding and some peter out or whatever, then you just kind of like roll up what the dying ones into whatever the next ones are, you know, like kind of like what a plant does, you know, there's some leaves that are weak or whatever, and then you gotta like kind of like prune it a little bit so that where the branches are stronger and more beautiful flowers are coming, that they get more of the resources.
Yeah. I think the only problem we run into, it's the same problem across all democracy that we've had, and that's kind of why democracy works in this country the way it does, is because when you let all the little people who are most likely dumb or don't understand how the thing works have an equal vote in what's happening, especially in these financial products, they make bad or biased decision, right? For instance, like voting for, you know, increasing the APR on the pool that they're in, right? Everyone wants to vote, yeah, increase the APR, I'll make more money, but also, you know, it's rapidly increasing the supply and this and that, you know, people don't understand all the consequences.
They're the network effect of it.
Yeah, they have this network effect where everyone gets on board with this thing because it directly benefits them, but it actually screws up the whole thing. And it's hard to even deal with democracy decisions like that.
I know. Well, I think too, you know, that's why we don't have we need more stories like the starfish and the spider. We need more references, like we've always been talking about this, but you know, we're losing touch of these actual models and metaphors in which we could talk about it and also reference experiences. Because I think for this whole wave, it needs to be that way. Where if just we hit our head against the wall, because that's when a majority of us learn. And so then the next wave, we're like, okay, that didn't really work. Let's all grow up and learn this. But you know, it's also going to be, that's a bad thing. There's not enough time to like get everybody up to speed. Because those people that are the riffraff, they're going to get swallowed up by the spiders. They're going to be stuck in the webs, man. They're not going to be able to grow into starfish.
Yeah, right. So it's like we're making all these building blocks.
Yeah.
But anybody can use them.
Yeah.
Including the spiders.
Yeah, including the spiders. Yeah.
They can go ahead and take it and deploy it in a larger scale fashion.
Yeah.
Because they have all these resources, but they're actually not as organized as I would have thought.
Oh, no.
That's the only hope that I have, is that it is a scrambling, gibbering mess where nobody can allow anyone to make any decisions, right? So this decentralized, renegade, operation, this mindset functions better.
Look at Elon. Okay, so Elon does his thing, and then the stupid people follow him, but the second time they don't. Not enough.
What are you referring to? Follow him to do what? When he first pumped Doge, then like a couple months later he tried to do it again, and then everyone was like, whatever. I don't know. It's still. I talk to so many people that have this like holder mentality. Like it's this weird psychological conditioning that happened in those communities, where it's just everybody be the bag holder. Everybody be the bag holder and allow these large institutions to dump on you, and then buy back in, and weird things. Like my dad's a techie, he's always been in IT since I was a kid, and I could never get him into crypto, never get him to look at blockchain. He bought Shiba Inu, he bought Doge, he bought
I know what you're talking
these
about.
ones where they're like this popular media influence that gets people to like, that's the first thing they see.
Yeah.
And I really see it as like a manipulation ploy.
Oh yeah.
Because Elon and some of these other wealthy people that are playing this game.
Well, they're doing exactly
Cuban
that. They're pumping it up, and then when it goes down, they double down again.
Because they got in trouble from the SEC before for
Elon,
talking about their stocks weird or different
Elon
things.
has a history of this.
And then oh hey, but with crypto,
yeah,
he's like he knows enough about Bitcoin. He knows enough about Ethereum. I know that Tesla is doing things with Energy Web Chain and some like very, very hush-hush NDA plays in crypto. And then he's like, the most successful global currency of Mars will be the Dogecoin meme, you guys. It's literally,
it's like
a joke.
I know.
He knows so much more than he is showing anybody.
Dude, I remember when it came out, I was like pacing and like besides myself, I was like, he's not that stupid. And there's the whole thing about Bitcoin being energy wasteful and all this kind of stuff. I was like, I literally did a show like 4 years ago on is Bitcoin sustainable. Are you telling me Elon doesn't know this? Like, give me a break. Like this can't be reality. Like, can anybody believe this?
Well, and it was definitely a ploy.
Oh yeah, it definitely was.
Gave him a good opportunity
but
for
people
his companies to buy in.
don't know enough to know that is an obvious joke. It's an obvious ploy. Oh my god, I have this like conversation every like month with one of my friends, and I'm like, no, don't buy Doge. And I'm like, no, don't do it. Like, I constantly telling them the reasons why not to do it. Like, it's just frustrating to know him.
Well, yeah, I've annoyed every single person I know with all of my blockchain bullshit for years now.
Yeah.
And then they're finally like, okay, I'm ready to hear about Doge.
And you're like, what?
Fuck yourself.
Yeah. I want to die. It's so frustrating. Like, and then my friend doesn't understand like how frustrating it is to me. I was just like, okay, whatever. But luckily, I only help him buy Ethereum. And he hasn't explored enough to do anything else. It's like, once he's ready to play and actually explore, then I'll show him what's up. Or at least, here, go play over there. Let's stop.
Yeah, at this point, I've at least been able to, meet with clients and just do blockchain education from like scratch. My thing that I try to do is like bring on clients that I can like talk to your grandma about, everything from not even being able to get on the smartphone kind of stuff, because that's what needs to be done. And it's kind of that like,
have you but Mark Pesce has a show called Cryptonomics.
Welcome back to episode 1 of Cryptonomics. Over the first 5 episodes of Cryptonomics, we'll explore and understand how the new world of cryptocurrencies works, beginning with the basic technology that underpins all of Cryptonomics, the blockchain. The blockchain is the engine block of the crypto economy, the foundation upon which all of it rests. In this episode, we'll learn what a blockchain is and why it's such an improvement over the tools we've used before.
Yeah, it's it. What was the name? I've got Cryptonomics pulled up, but what was it pulled up some weird shit.
Blockchain beginnings.
But before we can take a look at where money is headed, we need to turn back, all the way back to the origins of civilization, writing, and bookkeeping. For in our origins, we see the signs of our destiny. The earliest fragments of writing go back nearly 6,000 years to the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, that's modern-day Iraq. Those first bits of writing we found, you know what they are? They're ledgers. They're lists of things that someone owns, cattle and grain and hay and oil. Those are the sorts of things that would define you as wealthy 6,000 years ago. We started to write things down, at least this is what's supposed. We started to write them down because we simply had too much to remember. How many head of cattle? How many bottles of oil? How many bushels of grain? And if you sell some of that to someone, how many to them? Human memory is great, but it's all too fallible. By 6,000 years ago, things had gotten complicated enough that we needed some system to keep track of things. So we made marks, just as we do today when we make a tally. 1, 2, 3, 4, scratch. 6, 7, 8, 9, scratch. And these tallies, they evolved into cuneiform, the earliest form of writing. And the first example of that writing, it's a ledger. So not only does accounting go all the way back to the beginnings of civilization, it might be the original reason for writing.
This is the thing. Oh my God. Well, I think I had a dream about this actually 2 nights ago. But it's what you're saying, like being able to communicate it to your like grandma or to anybody in reasonable pockets for them to understand, you know? Like that's where we got to get at.
Banking and finance tottered at the edge of an abyss. But in the middle of this financial hurricane, something truly novel came to light. Something no one had seen before. Something that could, perhaps, set all of this to rights. It was an academic paper, although these days we'd call it a white paper because it wasn't published in a prestigious academic journal. It was simply posted to the internet by its author, Satoshi Nakamoto. The paper describes something called a peer-to-peer electronic cash system that it named Bitcoin. But before we get into Bitcoin, and we'll get there soon enough, we need to have a good look at the reason this is so important in the story of banking. Electronic cash, that's no big deal. We've had that in different forms. Even in 2008, we'd had it in different forms for 15 years. The paper described a new way of keeping the books, a new mechanism for accounting, something even better than double entry bookkeeping. Better because it's both harder to falsify and cheaper to maintain. Let's take a look at how it works.
Yeah, so you just have to like deconstruct the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, as you're speaking to people, or else I can watch people's eyes glaze over when they get hit with those words where they're like, I'm not going to stop him to ask.
So now you can see that all three are linked together in a chain, almost like a photo within a photo within a photo. I've chained them together with these seals. That's the origin of the term blockchain. We're chaining these seals together in a way that makes it nearly impossible to change anything, because if you do, the seals won't look the same, and it's easy to check for that. So now, instead of having a list of assets perfectly balanced against a list of liabilities, that's how accounting has always worked. Instead, you can have this chain of linked blocks, this blockchain guaranteeing that every entry is accurate and none of them have been tampered with. Everyone gets to check to see if it all balances. It's cheap to do that. A computer program can handle it. An app for your smartphone can handle it. The proof is solid. You can bank on it. You can even build a bank on it. And suddenly, a lot of the need for all of the careful checks and balances that banks and auditors provide, that need vaporizes. That's the theory anyway. And so far, the theory seems solid. But changing the way banking and accounting work, that is not an overnight affair. Even 10 years isn't long enough to see much change, although change is bubbling away underneath and out of sight.
It's kind of funny. Okay, so recently, it's been a while. My uncle had dementia, so we knew that, it was progressive, so like that all of a sudden like it's just gonna go downhill real quick. And so that happened around my birthday, and so like we go up there and we do a road trip and we visit him. And my aunt, my uncle's wife, she's like a conservative Christian, and our whole life like not that like there's any like bad blood between us, but like we're never really necessarily close. Conservative Christian, and then how I am, and just broadly brushing, and so spending there, and I was there working on the computer, and she one time sits down at the kitchen table, and she's like, "Okay, so what are you doing?" And but in this open way, I have some time, I want to try to understand what's all this stuff, and then I go, okay, and then I started off with the whole blockchain beginnings. I was like, I guess before I start, I think I want to start here, and then I start with that, and then I go into the kind of example of mines where I said I've been doing this stuff for like a long time, like doing podcasts, and I even hate using the word podcast, but it's the only thing I do without trying to really explain what I do. But I just use it, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing a podcast, and then blah blah blah, and it's like, and we always talked on the podcast like, oh, first it was a point system, and we needed to have it a token, and then it became a token, and we're like, hey, we wish that this was worth something, and then overnight it was like 25 cents, and then everybody's like, oh, this is kind of cool, and then it was like 50 cents, and then we're like, oh, this is even cool, and then it went up to $1, and I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool, and then it went up to $2, and said, hey, this is, why is it going this high? It went up to $3, and then it went back down, and then I said, well, the reason why, and then I said, liquidity pools, okay, there's this thing called Uniswap, and then I kind of like explained liquidity pools, and then I go, okay, so I said, even on the show, I knew that you need to put stuff in the liquidity pool, but also too, I knew overnight there was millions of dollars in this liquidity pool, and I said, I know everybody on Mines, I know most of the players like culturally, and I know some of the devs, and I said, no one has that much money to put overnight that much in there, so I'm a little suspicious of what is these people's intention, and that overnight they could just take it out as easily, and warned everybody that this will happen, and a couple months later it exactly happened, and then our token went down below $1, and everybody was complaining, the blood on the streets, blah blah blah, everybody's upset. And then now, people put money back in and it goes up, but there's no one around anymore. And I said, and so like I tell them not only like the thing, then I go into like the example in detail, and then later she was like, and then I talk about like, using this, and then it's not only what I have earned, but it's the exponential growth that's there. And I said, when I first got the Ethereum coin, I think at that time it was $500 for 1 ETH, and then now you can see where it's at, and I think it could even go higher. And there's other things that I'm playing with and other things I want to do, but that's just the small example within 6 months.
Yeah, no, I think that $500 period was probably back like that last cycle when you were talking about it, and it was starting to hype up. And I didn't know all of what it was then. I didn't even ever look into what it was, because there was Bitcoin, and then there was Ethereum, their digital currencies. Nobody told me about Solidity and the EVM and it being a general purpose smart contract, not just for currency transactions. And as soon as I realized that, it all clicked.
Okay,
all of it just clicked.
And then later on to in the Cryptonomics podcast, he has one about smart contracts, and that's another good little segment. And then
smart contracts. I got in on Chainlink really early. I actually go to some local meetups. I got in under $3.
Hell yeah!
Those were some of the moves that like got me like fully, because I know
and see that's the next phase of the story. It's like, okay, UBI or being this like securing your bag in a sense now frees you up. Okay, now I could do what I want, but what do I really want to do? What would be something that I do already? If you do what you love, then you never work a day in your life. Like that type of question needs to be answered once you get there,
And I think for me, I've always chased, these inherent privacies that I think we believe, like these sovereignties. So like financial sovereignty is important. I've always looked for decentralized social media. I don't even know why. All of these concepts have always been really, really important to me.
Yeah, and now we're seeing why those are the real real freedom and real powerful ideas. Those are like the light in this darkness.
Yeah, I always talk about, I was very interested in learning about Bitcoin when it was $7.
Oh shit, yeah.
But I was like 14, 15. And I didn't care about money.
Yeah.
I didn't have a debit card. but I thought it was really cool.
Well, my story is that I earned my Ethereum coin. I didn't buy it. Like I played on Hive so I could earn their little stupid coin, and then I flip it to Ethereum every good time that it was favorable to exchange those rates. So I never bought it any of my crypto.
That's actually really cool.
It's a point of pride for me.
I started getting in. Like basically, I just busted my ass and got a job, and then started getting into investing, and then started buying.
Oh, but there was the especially when I went to Florida, there was times where I did try to sell it, and then it was just too cumbersome, and I was just like, fuck it, I'll just keep it. Oh, there was times where it was real bad, and I was like, oh god, I'm glad it didn't like work out, like the fates of gods like put obstacles in my way, and I just said, well, fuck it, I'll do something else.
Made it too hard to dump your bags.
Yeah. Oh man, so you look back at that too, and because I mean, as much as I'm like, oh yeah, this and that, and I have like this whole energy of like conviction and whatever. I don't know. There's dark nights of the soul where I'm like, what the fuck? I wasted my whole life. For sure.
Well, until it gets to that point where the culmination of all your and I was gonna say that when you were talking about I think you said your aunt came to the table to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like probably the same aunt that was like, this bum, what is he doing?
Yeah,
Sitting around all day smoking weed, doing blah 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 blah.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden it's a culmination of all the things you were actually doing, right? Like my parents used to be like, what are you doing on the computer all the time? Why are you playing games? Why are you're not making money on an MMO, I used to play these games and get this gear and sell these things and do these things in like, a virtual economy, but no one could ever see the fruits of that labor. They would never call it labor.
Yeah.
And now it all culminates and is becoming something where they're like, oh, maybe, maybe he's not just the basement dweller rat on his damn computer all the time. Like, he actually knows some shit.
And with that being said, we, and especially you digging so far into the development, we are far ahead of that curve. And I think to a certain extent, I remember a long time ago I talked to Are You Serious? And this is why I talked to Douglas Rushcliffe and Are You Serious? Because like Siberia is exactly like that. Like Doug wrote that book because exactly that. Everybody thought, what are you doing on the computer? This is for like kids. Like you're an adult. Like get a job. And they're like, no, this is where it's at. Dude, even to that extent, you know who Jared Lanier is, right?
Nope.
Okay, Jared Lanier is considered the godfather of VR. Anyways, I just found out recently, because I go to New Mexico almost every year. But anyways, the aunt that I stay with, or my cousin that I stay with, Jared Lanier used to go to their house and play Risk with my other cousin, Billy.
Oh, wow.
I was like, because I forgot, I was talking about like Douglas Rushkoff and like, she's a book editor. So we, like every time I go, we have pretty good conversations about like what I'm actually doing, over years, right? And so like this time, I was like, oh, you remember that guy I'm always talking about? Like I finally got to like sit down and talk to one of my intellectual heroes, Douglas Rushkoff, and then I got so excited that I made another interview with Mark Pesce, who wrote a VR language when he was 20 on acid. So, to say that he's a genius is an understatement. And, I'm just like really proud of those two achievements. And then later after, she's like, you know what? Do you know who Jared Lanier is? And I start laughing. I was like, yeah, I know who Jared Lanier is. And he's like, Billy and him were in the same grade. And Jared Lanier used to come to our house and play Risk. I remember when they were, she's older. Yeah, she's older than Billy. But they're like within two years, and she's like, I remember just them, Billy and his group of friends with Jared Lanier were just like nerds, and they would play Risk and like games like that, and we always thought they were like really weird or like oddballs, and then like we always, because she said she always later when they're adults now, they always look back, like people in their circle. Jared Lanier was like the most successful because they've seen him, later do this VR kind of stuff. And then so they always go back to like, oh, remember when Jared Lanier used to play Risk? And this is the first time I heard that story. I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy. Like, the world's weird like that sometimes. That's like a cosmic giggle for sure.
Yeah, it's there's lots of weird connections, you know, and they're sometimes too hard to discount.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, this is why I like Robert Anton Wilson, because that's why he kind of like cosmic giggles more than like synchronicity, because like synchronicity has this more like new age heavy like pull to it, and cosmic giggles like, yeah, that could be like destiny, but yeah, it could just be random.
Yeah. No, I like that phrase. I've never heard that before, because that's exactly how I feel. You know, like the girl I've been with for, you know, the last several years is very like esoteric. And is very you know, into that stuff, and very like believes in you know, and I like the cosmic giggle, because that's kind of how I address things. You know, she does tarot readings and everything, and it's like, yeah, you know, maybe.
Yeah. But I also took LSD and talked to Keck once, so, you know, it's all relative. Oh, shit. Yeah, for sure. And, dude, you should listen to... Actually, you should watch the YouTube. I don't know if you ever saw it, that when I talked to Douglas Rushkoff. Like, I mean, some parts are whatever, but, like, some parts... Dude... I felt like I think you've seen the one where I do the Mines Underground, where I felt like I had to defend Mines, because like I reference it, and then he kind of like said something about it being alt-right or something like that, and then I kind of like, oh shit, like I have to like defend Mines with Douglas Rushkoff.
Because it was that time period.
Yeah, because
it was that very specific time period.
Bill goes to fucking to that free speech of Trump bullshit, and like I get it, but then also too, like, narrative wise it's bad, and like, I mean, come on, I don't know, it's, and then even to that, I talked to Bill later, and I tell that to Bill, and then Bill says, Doug being a milieu theorist should be, like, you know, kind of better than that. And he didn't say it directly like that, but in the sense, too, I was like, oh, Doug, too, you're getting a little old. But I think in my edit version, I represent the idea. And you know me, like, I'm not all like, drinking the Kool-Aid on Mines either, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've never been. I've always kind of... maybe tick Bill off here and there sometimes, because I've always brought up the uncomfortable shit.
Yeah.
I've always brought up a lot more problems than like being super grateful or anything, you know, and that's what I was saying with everything about the crypto part of the platform is like, I'm not just gonna hop into a chat with Bill and be like, so I'm back, this is what's wrong.
Dude,
I think that the more I think about it, I think that you were talking about how you were trying to keep up on doing talks, but you kind of lost the motivation because they become repetitive. I think in the beginning there was a ton of structure. I obviously haven't been around for like, this is one of those things where I'm just poking holes, but like I think going back to creating structure and like coming up with really, really specific topics,
that's why
we could rake some people in.
What I want to do with the Cosmic Trigger is exactly that. That now it doesn't matter. It's not about doing. I want to do it a monthly show, so it's not like you're doing a weekly show. But also too, with that, I already have 2 episodes, which is the Douglas Rushkoff one, Bill, and I have one unedited version that I want to do with Mark Pesci that I already did a talk with. But so the further extent of this is it's decentralized, and I've always said that, but we never done it. So I'm setting the example. So like, you could go and get somebody. So this is the intersection of culture and infrastructure of the Web3 world. and we need both culture and infrastructure. So I started culture with Douglas Rushkoff, even Mark Pesce, even though Mark Pesce kind of is not totally in the infrastructure, but knowledgeable enough to talk about certain aspects of that. Because I talked to him a little bit about Augmented Reality, a book that he wrote recently or last year or whatever. But anyways, more stuff like that, and now I think more on the infrastructure side, since Bill, Rushkoff, and Pesce I would consider culture. Now we need 3 of infrastructure, and I think this is where you can help. And basically, it's interview, but from that interview, when we edit, we do develop segments of fleshing out the ideas and things that pop out. So there is a podcast, which is the talk, but then there's the show where it's the more developed. It's a web series, and that's what I'm working on. That's like the specific idea that I'm working on. And even to the extent when Minds is ready to do the token grant system, which Bill says by the end of the year they should do, and they want to develop a DAO themselves, is that I pitched that idea as for a token grant to do the web series, and that we pay people for their time and blah blah blah. And then also too, it's more than just the web series, that we actually start doing that infrastructure stuff. So then we form our own DAO, and simultaneously we keep pitching that to Bill. So we build Imaginarium DAO as we're building and suggesting Minds DAO. And we basically are the model, and we write the token grant system for Minds, and we use that as our test. And then after we work out the kinks that way, then we do a fully formed Imaginarium, and it's independent and interoperable, and we take it to whatever. We take it as a boat to sail the Web3 world.
I think that's really interesting. I think I do want to be involved with that, because I'm turning a corner where I want to create again. Because I've just had so much shit going on, and I'm finally freed from, whatever situation I've been in for a bunch of years now. And
see, Gov, interview, and also to music, artwork, poetry.
I think it would be a cool thing. The Imaginarium DAO, we can come up with different monetization models.
Yeah, we'll experiment with NFTs, with the token. And if Imaginarium is going to have a token, it has to be meaningful. It's not going to be on MintMe. That's why Imaginarium's not on MintMe.
Yes, that's very important. Because I wouldn't even deploy any big mainnet contracts for that right now, like myself. I'm still polishing before I deploy anything big. Because that's how messes happen.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get there. Because that's what I'm focusing most of my time on right now, is developing my skill set, because this is what I do want to do as a career.
Yeah.
And I think doing the talks and putting them on like Theta, doing podcasts, doing structured things, doing like I'm already looking at doing some educational content, like actual
that's what I wanted.
Scripted stuff.
Yeah. So I want to do a token grant for Uniswap, and so that will be an ad in the podcast, but also too with the intention of building educational videos about blockchain. So we do our own version of blockchain beginnings. We go over smart contracts, we go over wallets, we go over the basics, and we try to develop that as a story, and that it's animated. Like we have Curry Hobo, we have other guest artists that do the animation for it. And we tell the story of also the starfish and the spider and stuff like that.
I think that's another cool idea. Just storytelling.
Yeah.
Because I think you're really good at storytelling. I think that I'm good at explaining concepts.
Yeah.
But I think that you're really good at referencing stories and metaphors and things to, there are people that are left or right brained, right? So we really need to be addressing the people that are right-brained.
And see, what you would bring to the table is that our metaphors are grounded in what the mechanics are. You know what I mean? And that even our animation are accurately depicting and portraying whatever we're discussing, whether via a Uniswap, any of the smart contracts and yada yada. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At that point, the infrastructure for the DAO or the monetization part is where it gets
tricky,
fuzzy, and very based in trust. And we're trying to get to trustless systems. But if we have,
but that's
a
where,
YouTube channel that's monetized to someone's bank account, and like these different things that aren't all the way there yet.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to really
For right now, it has to be it has to be trust peer to peer between our kind of digital relationships that we have had already, and that we could use that as a way to use these protocols up to the point to where we no longer are no one needs to, like, the trustless part, that this is all in the background.
That's the goal. We'll just have to inch our way there.
Yeah.
Until we're on Theta and Audius.
Yeah. But see, and that's where the watering hole of Minds is, because in that sense, Minds being this hybrid and always having like a this feet in both worlds and not of any world type of thing, it made it survive, or made it more nimble in these past 4 years or whatever, I think.
Well, it would be interesting to be able to do like some sort of a group entity or something that's like attached to a multi-sig wallet.
Yeah.
That would be like the groups is like the group itself is able to have a wallet.
Yeah. You know what I wanted
crazy
to do is like tie in a what is it called? No loss lottery pool. Yeah, a pool. What's it? Pool to? I forgot what it's called, but
pool together or
pull together. Anyways, for each of these, like that being a plugin, a tie-in for your chat rooms, so you could like have a chat room that has, based on whatever you want criteria in that chat room / community, and then you get these tickets for the pool, and it's like NFTs or it's tokens. Like, if we all have a liquidity pool, then you store the rewards in there, and we have different ways we play with that.
That's interesting, because I am currently in the process of I just started rolling out an NFT series that is a lottery.
Oh,
so
shit.
Basically, by the time it's like a staged release, and they'll keep coming out over a period of time. There are only going to be 10, cool. And once all 10 are purchased, one randomly selected of the 10 gets 50% of the revenue.
Oh, nice.
So that person is actually is a lottery, and they'll make some money from it. But other than that, they're just cool collectibles.
Yeah. So,
the way that Pool Together works is because you have to create the interest somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like Mine's token isn't really generating too much interest for the no loss lottery.
Yeah.
But you can create cool mechanisms that are.
Yeah.
There is so much yield out there if you know how to get through the obstacles to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
There are pools that are doing hundreds percent APR all the time if you can just shop for them properly. And I think that's another cool thing that we can do with DAOs is you have competitive yield between, whether it be Curve or Aave or any of these, or Yearn is the yield aggregator, where someone is creating these strategies on chain that are going to be the best yield, and everyone can plant their money there, and then it's a decentralized hedge fund.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
once we create a DAO and start monetizing it, putting some revenue in there, coming up with
and
proposals
that's how you
that
make
actually
it.
make sense.
Yeah, that's how you make it sustainable. You know, you do that on the financial back end, but it's all to fund this ecosystem of the creativity that like puts resources back into the entity.
I'm all right with Solidity. I'm still polishing up my skills. Definitely not mainnet deployment on anything. But I'm already moving towards substrate-based blockchains. Substrate is the tech that Polkadot's built with.
Yeah.
Basically, the whole way through as they were building, they abstracted all of the tech and made it basically just Lego.
Yeah.
And so you can go and use all the Legos to build your own chain from scratch.
Yeah.
And then it's connectable with anything.
That's what we gotta do for Imaginarium, huh?